Gore, Mapenduka, and welcome to Africa Good Morning, the show that keeps you up to date with the latest news in Africa and beyond. I'm your host, Glenora Shipura. Getting into what you can expect in today's broadcast. Israel bombs Gaza as fears grow of a wider war. And in India, tainted alcohol death toll rises to 54 in Tamil Nadu. Top comedian sworn in as Malawi's vice president. We'll also be talking to talent Gore, who will be filling us in on the latest news in Zimbabwe. And a little bit later on, Ari Hohat will be bringing us the latest in the world of sports.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
Getting to our top stories, Israel bombed Gaza on Friday as exchange of fire and threats over the Lebanon border raised fears of wider war. 5 municipal workers died during an Israeli bombing of garage in Gaza City, said Mahmoud Basal, spokesman for the Civil Defense Agency in the Hamas-ruled Palestinian territory. In southern Gaza, AFP TV captured an overnight strike on a residential district of Khan Yunis city. A ball of fire and sparks flared, followed by grey smoke before residents inspected damage in the dusty darkness. Just before midnight Thursday, Israel Army said it had successfully intercepted a suspicious aerial target that crossed from Lebanon. Early Friday, Lebanese official media reported fresh Israeli strikes in the country's south. This came after Lebanon's powerful Hezbollah movement said it fired dozens of rockets at an Israeli barracks in northern Israel on Thursday in retaliation for a deadly airstrike in South Lebanon. One of the group's operatives was killed in that strike, Israel said. Hezbollah claimed several other attacks on Thursday. The Israeli military said its jets had struck Hezbollah sites and had fired artillery to remove threats in multiple areas in southern Lebanon. Now, experts are divided on the prospects of a wider war, almost 9 months into Israel's campaign to eradicate Iran-backed Hezbollah's ally Hamas. Now, the Palestinian militant group in Gaza. Exchanges between Hezbollah and Israel have escalated in recent weeks, and the Israeli military said on Tuesday that plans for an offensive in Lebanon were approved and validated. Hezbollah chief Hassan Nasrallah said no place in Israel would be spared of our rockets in a war. Getting to our next story, at least 54 people have died and dozens are still hospitalized after drinking alcohol laced with methanol in the southern Indian state of Tamil Nadu. Nearly 200 people have been treated since Wednesday and in the district of Kalkurichi, and more than 100 people are still being cared for across multiple hospitals. 48 men and 6 women succumbed to the tainted liquor as of Saturday, with others being treated for symptoms including vomiting, stomach aches, and diarrhea. People regularly buy illegal alcohol as few can afford branded spirits, sometimes leading to large casualty incidents since some vendors add methanol to increase the potency of their drink. But methanol, a highly toxic chemical substance used for industrial purposes, can lead to blindness, liver damage, or death, even in small quantities. Now, according to Prasant, a senior district official, at least 7 people have been arrested by the authorities, who earlier said they also seized 200 liters of the illegally produced alcoholic drink. The government of Tamil Nadu said on Thursday it had taken disciplinary action against 10 officials in charge of managing illegal alcohol and failed to prevent the incident. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin announced the families of the victims and those hospitalized will receive financial compensation from the government. Moving on, getting to our next story, top comedian turned political politician Michael Usi has been sworn in as Malawi's vice president at a ceremony held in parliament in the capital, Lilongwe. The 55-year-old replaces Saulos Chilima, who died in a plane crash earlier this month, along with 8 other people. Dr. Usi received a standing ovation when he spoke after his inauguration, saying he accepted the role with a mixture of sadness and gratitude. He promised to honor his predecessor's memory and thanked President Lazarus Chakwera for believing in him as he takes up his position as vice president in the power-sharing government. His appointment has certainly left Malawians divided. Some have been sharing clips of his acting career on social media and questioning whether he is serious enough to take up such a senior role. Others, however, have praised President Chakwera for appointing Chilima's party deputy and honoring the spirit of the alliance between their two parties. Dr. Usi is no stranger to controversy given his acting career. He is popularly known as Manganya, the name of a mischievous character he plays on a popular TV sitcom, Chikerefinji. His aide told the BBC on Friday that he was filming an episode as recently as last week. He has been a staple on national radio and television for more than 2 decades, making him one of the most recognizable local celebrities. Namibian court declares laws banning gay sex as unconstitutional. A high court in Namibia declared 2 colonial era laws that criminalize same-sex acts between men unconstitutional on Friday in a landmark win for the LGBTQ community in the southern African country. The case was brought by Namibian activist Friedel Dausep with the support of British-based non-governmental organization Humanity Dignity Trust. Dausep told Reuters he was just happy after the court's decision. It's a great day for Namibia, he said. Consensual same-sex activity is prohibited in more than half of 54 African countries, according to ILGA, an international organization supporting LGBTQ rights. This victory also brings much needed and renewed energy to other decriminalization efforts across Africa, said Tia Brown, chief executive of the Laws on Sodomy and Unnatural Sexual Offenses, which were relatively rare in Namibia. Getting into our next story, Niger revokes French nuclear group's license at a major uranium mine. Niger's military government has revoked the operating license of French nuclear fuel producer Orano at one of the biggest uranium mines as it continues to cut ties with former colonial power France. Now, state-owned Orano said on Thursday that it had been ordered out of the Imourian mine in northern Niger, which sits on an estimated 200,000 tons of the metal used for nuclear power and weapons. Reporting from Abuja, Al Jazeera Ahmad Idris said the Nigerian Ministry of Mining had warned it would revoke Orano's license if development of the mine had not started by June 19th. Orano insisted in a statement on Thursday that it had recently resumed activities at the site, reopening infrastructure to accommodate construction teams. It worked in line with the wishes of the government, which came to power in a coup in July last year. Now, mining was meant to have started at Imourian in 2015, but development was frozen after the collapse in world uranium prices in the wake of the 2011 Japanese disaster when a tsunami hit the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant in the northeast of the country. The Nigerian government's decision to revoke Orano's license may have wider geopolitical stakes. As Al Jazeera Idris noted, relations between Niger and its former colonial ruler took a nosedive after last year's coup. Now, on the other side of the break, we'll be talking to talent Gore, who will be filling us in on the latest news in Zimbabwe.
Welcome to My.NA Cars, your ultimate destination for everything automotive.
I am your host, Diana Master. Teamwork makes the dream work, right?
Discover the latest models, innovative technologies, and expert insights from our passionate hosts. Learn essential maintenance tips and get exclusive behind-the-scenes access to the automotive industry. Don't miss My.NA Cars on NTV every Thursday at 2100 hours. Tune in and ignite your passion for automobiles.
The Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission has begun investigations into potential money laundering and abuse of office in the contractual dispute between business people Wicknell Chivayo, Mike Chimobe, and Moses Mpofo over the supply of election materials to the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. Here to bring us this story is Tainted. Gore. Good morning, Tainted.
Good morning, and Africa, good morning. So the Zimbabwe anti-corruption has begun investigations into potential money laundering by business people, Wikno Chivayo, Mike Chimombe, and Moses Mpofu. Wikno Chivayo went on a spree over this past few months. He was buying ZANU-PF, which is the ruling party, supporters' cars and artist cars, saying that they were supporting the ruling party. So he was buying them cars, he was buying Toyota Aquas, he was buying Mercedes-Benz. In this picture, you can see that in the middle, that is him, that is Wikno Chivayo with he's also quite close to the president of Zimbabwe. So now the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission has started investigating for money laundering over election material, which was over election material which is bought on behalf of Zimbabwe Electoral Commission in August 2023 during the election season. The Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission has said that they are going to call them for investigations, and I think they are going in today for the investigations. And right now, the Zimbabwe Corruption Commission is that they are investigating them for a 40 million United States dollars deal had with the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission last year. Now the trio will be called in for questioning, for interviews, and we're going to be the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission will say what they're going to do in regards to what will happen to the trio. Apparently, the three had out, and a lot of audios and messages were circulating on social media, which led to the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission to launch an investigation into their business dealing. They're saying that there might have been money laundering involved within the business people. So right now we're just going to be monitoring the situation, and also we're going to be to hear what the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Commission is going to do after they have conducted their investigations, whether they're going to test the business people or what. We're just going to be monitoring the situation on how they're going to handle the situation going forward.
Well, do keep us posted on the developments in that story. Now, getting into your next story, drug abuse fuels HIV and AIDS. This is concerning.
Yes, the National AIDS Council of Zimbabwe said that there is a need for combined efforts among civil society and the media to curb drug and substance that is fueling new HIV infections, especially amongst the youth. Apparently, as I've always said in most of my stories that I've been reporting here, Zimbabwe right now is battling drug and substance abuse amongst the youth. So right now, the National AIDS Council of Zimbabwe is saying that the drug and substance abuse issue is also fueling new HIV infections in such a way that are people who are using injections for their drugs. So they'll take there's this new method that these drug users are doing. If one consumes drugs, they'll have to take an injection, and they draw blood from that person that will be high on drugs, and then they inject into another person. So that alone is causing or is fueling HIV. And they're saying that there are a lot of things that are happening when people are high on drugs that are also fueling HIV. In as much as Zimbabwe has attained the 95 HIV targets, right now the drug and substance abuse is new HIV infections, and the government and the civil society has to do something to that this not go on and on, because we are heading towards a disaster if this was to happen.
Well, all right then. Thank you so much for bringing us these stories from the House of Stone Tainted.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
We now take a look at our weather predictions for Southern Africa before we return with economic news. Getting into our economic news, Nigerian energy firm ATO has resumed production after stopping an oil leak at its nearly 50,000 barrels per day Namibia field earlier last week in southern Bayelsa State, the company said. Now, ATO, which runs a joint venture with state oil company NNPC, had said the leak was reported on Monday during routine operations in the Namibia area, a heavily polluted region after decades of spills that have hurt farming and fishing. Our dedicated team has worked diligently to address the issues caused by the recent incident and implemented enhanced safety protocols to prevent future occurrences, ATO said in a statement sent by Reuters on Saturday. Getting into our next story, Egypt withdrew the operating license of 16 tourism companies and referred them to the public prosecutor, accusing them of being responsible for the deaths of Egyptian pilgrims in Mecca. A crisis unit tasked with addressing the situation said on Saturday. Medical and security sources say at least 530 Egyptians died during this year's Hajj pilgrimage to Mecca, while the statement from the unit, formed on Thursday and headed by Prime Minister Mustafa Mudboli, said 31 deaths were confirmed as a result of chronic illness. The tourism companies, which facilitated the travel of those who died, did not provide them with services of any kind, including medical, the statement said, without naming the companies involved. The agencies are being blamed for sending pilgrims to Saudi on personal visas rather than Hajj visas that allow access to Mecca, where Hajj rituals take place. We'll now take a look at our economic indicators before we return with sports with Ari Hohat. When it comes to the world of sports, I only trust one man to keep me updated on what's happening, and that is Ari Hohat. And he starts us off with the Cricket T20 World Cup, where South Africa played a very important game against the host West Indies. Good morning, Ari. Can you get into this story?
Yes, a very good morning, Lenora. Yes, exciting game that just finished a few minutes ago, actually 10, 15 minutes ago. And it was good news for Southern Africa and for Namibia is that host Namibia or host South Africa, they through to the semi-finals. So it was a very tense game. They beat the West Indies, the host. They beat them by 3 wickets. It was Duckworth Lewis that came into play, and South Africa chased a revised 123 off 17 overs, and they did it for the loss of 7 wickets. It's a great performance by South Africa, still unbeaten in the tournament, and the bad news for the West Indies, they're the host of the tournament, and they're out of the tournament, not playing in the semi-finals. It was the West Indies that scored 135 for the loss of 8 wickets, and that was in their 20 overs, and a good performance by Tristan Stubbs for South Africa, 29 from 27 deliveries. Also through in the same group as South Africa is England. England beat the USA quite convincingly the game before the South African game. They beat them actually by 10 wickets. So those are the English batsmen celebrating. USA 115 all out, England 117 without loss. So they're also through to the semi-final. Very tense game coming up this evening. So it will be India that play against Australia. India already secured of going through to the semis. But Australia need to beat India to go through or to have a chance to go through to the semi-finals. That was because 2 days ago it was Afghanistan that shocked Australia and they beat them by 21 runs. So now Australia need to beat India, which is tough, and then also still Afghanistan have a chance to go through even if Australia win, because they play Bangladesh and they can, with a big win, they can go past Australia. So all to play for Australia against India later today. Just briefly also, rugby news, Glasgow Warriors, they're the champions of the United Rugby Championship. Firstly, let's look at the Springboks there. It's the Springboks that played against Wales, and it was a friendly in London. Springboks winning 41 points to 13. Not a good first half, but a good second half. That is Edward van der Merwe, man of the match performance for him on his debut. Also then the United Rugby Championship winners, that's the Glasgow Warriors. They beat the Bulls. That was also a bit of a surprise as the Bulls played at home at Loftus Versfeld. That's the victorious team. That's the Glasgow Warriors of Scotland. They beat the Bulls 21-16 for them to win the 2024 United Rugby Championship title. And also briefly good news for the Blitzboks, the South African Sevens team. They beat Great Britain in a final in Monaco. That was to qualify for the Olympic Games. So that was great news for the Blitzboks. They will be in Paris for the Olympic Games. Also soccer, it is Euro 2024 that's happening at the moment. It's games that happened yesterday is Hungary that beat Scotland 1-0. And it was Germany and Switzerland that played to a 1-1 draw. Germany and Switzerland through to the next round. Scotland and Hungary fall out. And tonight it is Albania against Spain. But the big game is Croatia versus Italy. The winner of that will most likely go through to the playoffs. So a tough game for Italy as well, playing against Croatia. And then to close off golf news, it was one of the majors on the women's calendar of the LPGA, one of the 5 big ones. And it was the KPMG PGA that was played in America, and it was Amy Young. She's from South Korea. She won the title on 7 under par after 4 rounds, 3 shots better than Lilia Vu on 4 under par. Great performance by Amy Young, because in 11 previous times she got a top 5 performance. That was in the majors. So it's her first victory. She's 34 years old. So it is Amy Young of South Korea that won the title. The KPMG Women's PGA title. Well done to her. So that's all the sports news for this Monday. I hope it's a great sport day for everyone, and well done again to South Africa through to the semi-finals of the T20 Men's World Cup. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you, Ari, for bringing us the latest in the world of sports. And with that, we've come to the end of the show. But before we sign off, here's a recap. Israel bombs Gaza as fears grow of wider war. In India, tainted alcohol death toll rises to 54 in Tamil Nadu. Nigeria ATO resumes production after leak at 50,000 BPT well field. And with that, we've come to the end of the broadcast. From me, Glenora Shipura, until next time.